Jonathan is our horse racing insider. He is also the track announcer at Arapahoe Park.
And he's a fashion stylist like me.
Fashionista. Jonathan, I have a question for you about American Pharoah. The owner says that he wants to continue racing American Pharoah. What's the sense of that? Why wouldn't you just put him out to stud, let him breed, not take a chance that he gets hurt? Why race him anymore? You've proven everything you need to prove. You've won about as much money as you can win racing the horse.
Because I think the owner feels a sense of responsibility to the sport. You have a Triple Crown champion, and now to showcase that Triple Crown champion all over the country. So potentially with his next start either coming in New Jersey or New York, but on the table is a race in California, and then the end of the year with the Breeders' Cup in Kentucky. To have a Triple Crown champion and then have him retire, sure, I guess it makes business sense. But in terms of making the sport better, to have him continue to race at least until the end of the year, I think is a very good move by the owner.
Is it risky?
There is a risk, certainly, because the horse has an inherent value at stud, but there are sort of precautions that have been taken. There's a big insurance policy on the horse to protect him from his stud value, but I think everything will be fine. I mean, you look at the past Triple Crown champions. Affirmed went on the year after to become Horse of the Year. Seattle Slew raced afterwards. Most of the Triple Crown champions raced afterwards. So it's a big thing for the sport. Sure, there's an inherent risk, but it's sort of the same as a risk of a college football player to play in his bowl game if he knows that he's going to have value in the NFL draft down the road.
And Les is one of those guys that wants everybody put out the stud. He wants me put out the stud.
I want to be put out the stud.
So why in the world would you let him do what he does best, which is run?
Yeah.
You know, but you want to
and
put
let
him
me
out
do what I do best, which is stud.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. How many kids do you have? Didn't work out too well. Two. Why don't you have 12?
That's all I wanted.
How are things going at Arapahoe?
They're going very well. There was a big crowd for Father's Day last Sunday. This coming Saturday, we have a legendary trainer, Hall of Famer Jack Van Berg, who won the Kentucky Derby in 1987 with Ali Sheba. He's going to be at the track to sign a copy of his books. And Sunday's going to be a fun day. That's when the Celtic Tavern comes out for their Paddies and Ponies Day. So it's going to be an Irish-themed day at the races.
So how would you recommend people get involved with that? Do they call the Celtic, or they call Arapahoe, or just show up and be a part of the festivities with Celtic? Is Celtic running buses out, or do you know?
So the Celtic Tavern is going to be bringing buses from downtown to Arapahoe Park, free party buses, and by contacting the Celtic Tavern, information's on theceltictavern.com. You can get on these party buses, and as soon as you arrive, I was talking to Noel, the proprietor for the Celtic, yesterday, and there's going to be a bagpipe band there on arrival, a champagne reception. The day before is the Irish Derby, so it's a big weekend in Irish horse racing, and we're going to try and have a little bit of that theme at Arapahoe Park this Sunday.
I don't think people realize that when they say Kentucky Derby and in this country, and you just said Derby, that Derby is the same thing as Derby, is it not? I mean, Derby was copied after Derby, and it's not mispronounced.
Well, it all originates from Lord Derby, the 12th Earl of Derby, Edward Stanley, in the 18th century, and he started a race for 3-year-old horses, and because he thought very highly of himself, he wanted to name the race after himself. They flipped the coin. He and his friend, who was a member of Parliament, Charles Bunbury, it went Lord Derby's way, so the race became called the Derby. And the original Derby is still run in England each June, but each country, now each state in the United States, has sort of copied that theme, and we're going to have the Colorado Derby coming up later on in the season. I don't know where the pronunciation changed, but when you refer to the race in England or Europe, it's Derby, and then when you refer to it in the United States, it's become Derby.
Because we took a lot of words and names and totally screwed them up, as you know.
Jonathan, really appreciate your time, man.
Thank you. Hope to see you at the races.
I will see you at Arapahoe Park. That's Jonathan Horowitz, the Horse Racing Insider, presented by the Celtic Tavern, where you can bet daily on off-track horse and dog racing. So watch live and bet daily and sip from a selection of more than 350 whiskeys. I didn't even know they could make that many. Just 2 blocks west of Coors Field on Blake Street, it's the Celtic Tavern.